Alright, continuing where we left off, set that up there. This is part 10, 11, 12, 13, this is part 14. 14 of our look at movies in my DVD binder. We're now in the letter T and getting close to the end. So, it doesn't have any cover art, so I won't hold up the DVD, but we're going to talk about Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. Again, I was surprised how many of you hadn't seen The Sixth Sense. So I guess I should talk about films as if some of you haven't seen them. That was a movie I just kind of assumed that everybody had seen by now. It was such a big deal when it came out. Of course, the Terminator films are a lot older. The first one came out in 1984, which seems like forever ago now. And number 2 came out in 1991, which even that's, God, what, 18 years ago? But of course the Terminator franchise is enjoying renewed success of late because of the TV show in America, the Sarah Connor Chronicles, and of course highly anticipated movie this year is Terminator Salvation, which, you know, is basically the 4th Terminator movie, starring Christian Bale as John Connor. And I'm incredibly excited to see that movie. But let's go back. Let's go back in time to 1984. Many of you probably, 1984, oh, many of you were probably not even born. But 1984, I was 13, 14 years old, junior high student, let's say, and the first Terminator came out. I probably didn't go see it on the big screen because it would have been R-rated in America, and that means you have to be 17 or older, and I was not 17. Although I might have had an older, I have an older sister, so maybe with her boyfriend or something I did go see it. I can't quite remember. But I definitely watched it on video. And this was back, you know, of course, way before Laserdisc or DVD for me, back in videotape. But yeah, the first Terminator movie, my God. So exciting, so great. The whole concept. You know, the time-traveling, you know, robot that's come to destroy someone, and they send somebody else back, and you know, everything that James Cameron is like, you know, praised for is evident in this early film, which he, of course, wrote the screenplay, or co-wrote the screenplay and directed the film. You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger was, you know, had been in a few movies. At that point, he'd been in a movie called Stay Hungry. Of course, he'd been in Pumping Iron, the documentary about bodybuilding, because he was like a 7-time Mr. Universe or something. But this was really the first movie to kind of really use him in a way that made sense, because, you know, I mean, he's obviously an immense, powerful man, especially back then. But to make him this kind of unstoppable monosyllabic killing machine, you know, with some of these great throwaway lines like "I'll be back," you know, just, it was genius. And you know, it's one of the best science fiction movies of all time. And then to follow it up, you know, and take, you know, I mean, nowadays it's like if 2 years go by between a movie and its sequel, it seems like forever to fans, because of things like Lord of the Rings and, you know, Harry Potter, which seem to come out every year, every other year. But, I mean, he took his time, you know. He went off and did some other films. Of course, he did The Abyss, James Cameron, which I'm a huge fan of that movie. But, you know, I think he always knew that he would go back to the Terminator franchise. And, you know, it was about 6 years later, and they did. And, again, I think he was just waiting for technology to catch up with his imagination in some ways. Because it looks dated now, but man, that CG stuff with the liquid Terminator and some of the effects that they did in that movie just were mind-blowing at the time. You know, really starting to use computers in a creative way to enhance movie making. And so, you know, by the time you get to T2, you know, it's just such a different movie than the first Terminator in many ways. And I wasn't surprised by how good it was, because I'm a huge fan of Aliens, the second Alien movie, which I'll get to later when I talk about the box set. I knew James Cameron very talented guy. But it was great the way he subverted Arnold, you know, from being the villain and being a great villain in the first film to being basically the hero of the second film. And Linda Hamilton, I mean, this kind of mousy, sort of scared, kind of damsel in distress from the first film, you know, although she does get tougher by the end, you know, into this kick-ass, like, I mean, prototype of all those characters that, you know, like the Alias character that Jennifer Garner plays, etc. You know, just this hard-as-nails, you know, woman out to protect her child. And Eddie Furlong, you know, great as the young John Connor. And, you know, the guy that they got to play the metallic Terminator, also really good. You know, everything in the movie is just pitch perfect. You know, the way he enters, Schwarzenegger enters the film, you know, to the string, and he's, you know, he's on the Harley or whatever kind of bike that is, and the glasses, and you know, you think he's out to kill John, and then of course, you know, come with me if you want to live, and it's all different, and it's just great, and the whole, you know, trying to alter the future, you know, by killing Miles Dyson, and you know, trying to stop Skynet before it becomes Skynet, and all these things. It's just so well thought out, and it's just so well made. I mean, it's just grand scale action. I mean, there is no bet. I mean, it's the reason you pay $10 to go to the movies. You know, let's face it, is for movies like that. You know, I'm about to talk about a comedy that I really like, and comedies you can kind of see on your TV at home. Although it's fun to see comedies with a big audience and everybody's laughing together. But big action movies like Terminator and Terminator 2, you know, they deserve to be seen with great sound, Dolby Surround, Dolby Digital, all that stuff, you know, on a big, huge screen in a theater. So, you know, by the time T2 came out, I was obviously an adult, and I'm sure I saw it 2 or 3 times, and I've owned it on many different formats, including Laserdisc, and now this is the Extreme DVD, all kinds of extra goodies, you know, with that, you know, awesome glowing eye of Arnold. So if you haven't seen Terminator and the first 2 Terminator movies, don't worry too much about the third one. We just won't talk about the third one. But definitely see them, and I'm looking forward to the 4th Terminator movie this summer quite a bit. Okay, the comedy that I was talking about is this one. There's no title on this or on the second disc, and again, it's a 2-disc collector's edition. I like DVD extras. I'm sure you've caught on to that by now. But this is, of course, There's Something About Mary, directed by the Farrelly brothers. And, you know, I think it's one of the funniest American comedies of probably the past 20 years. Ben Stiller, you know, Cameron Diaz, Matt Dillon, just really, really funny stuff. And I'm actually a huge fan of a movie they made with Bill Murray and Woody Harrelson called Kingpin, a movie about bowling, which I think has some really, really funny stuff in it. And not as many people like that movie for some reason. I don't know why. But I think that movie's really, really funny too. But There's Something About Mary, I mean, for the obvious scatological reasons, you know, the whole hair gel thing and some of the stuff in it like that, it became this huge, you know, R-rated comedy. But I think it really stands up. It makes me laugh every time I watch it. It's definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it. Yeah, unfortunately, the Farrelly brothers haven't really made a movie as good since, but you know, I'm holding out hope that they will. All right, let's get one more in before we go. I'll talk about The Tall Guy. You can't really see anything. The Tall Guy is Jeff Goldblum in London, trying to get work as an actor. He gets cast in a musical version of The Elephant Man. And Emma Thompson is in it, and it's just got some really, really funny stuff in it. It's another little scene film, but very, very funny. Rowan Atkinson, who is very famous for Mr. Bean, the character Mr. Bean, plays this complete asshole, like, diva theater guy that Jeff Goldblum has to perform with. and it's just full of really great insight. It's got a good soundtrack, and it's just really, really funny, but it's romance as well. Okay, that'll do it for this time. One more part tonight and more soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.